Good morning. I'm not sure that I could look more like spring today with this and this. Is it a bit much? I don't know. I enjoy getting dressed up with absolutely nowhere to go. I would like you to join me today. I'm going to be talking about books. I want to talk about some new releases. I would like to buy some books online and I would like to do some baking. Could you hear my stomach there? I feel like that was quite loud. Apparently quite talkative. Can you hear that? I should maybe go and get some breakfast in a minute. Okay. Yeah, I would like to do some baking today. I got this. Let me just elegantly reach down. This beautiful baking dish, pie dish for Christmas, and I haven't used it yet. And I have some apples that I need to use. They're not cooking apples. So I know that cooking apples are the best for pie, but I have used normal standard apples for pie before and it's worked fine. You just have to cook them a little bit longer. So I have some apples I need to use and some frozen fruit. So I'm going to make a pie. I did that on Instagram last year and it got flagged as violent content. I think they thought that the berries were blood. Can you imagine? I'm just making some kind of blood pie, which actually is relevant to a new book of mine because fairy tales have lots of people being baked into pies, but that's not what I was doing in my kitchen at the end of last year. I swear it was berries. So we're going to make a pie and also I'm going to make a vegetarian lasagna as well. So quite a lot of cooking today. I've also noticed that I must be feeling very optimistic today to be making a tomato sauce and wearing a white top. So we'll see how that adventure goes. This morning I started listening to, as I was getting ready, the second Claire McGowan, Paula Maguire book. I read the first one at the end of March and reviewed it and I had enjoyed it and I thought the end was a bit much, but I had enjoyed the premise and I wanted to try the next one. So the second one is called The Dead Ground. And the first scene in this book made me want to throw up a little bit / a lot. It was really intense and I nearly DNF'd it. It was really violent. And then I stayed with it. And it's into the investigation bit now, so I don't mind so much. I don't know, it was quite a lot, but I will report back on my feelings on that. And then before that, before I'd got up, so when I was in bed, I finished reading Sick issue 2, which is so good. This is a fantastic magazine edited by Olivia Spring. And this is all work by disabled, chronically ill people, poetry, art, non-fiction. I love some of the art. I mean, I love everything in here, but the art in here is really cool. There's some knitting projects showing how bodies can be viewed in different ways. This artwork is by, let me find the name of the artist, Marion Michel. There are several writers in here whose work I would like to check out more of, but I particularly loved Jane Hartshorn, whose poetry was right at the back. So I would like to quickly look online to see if she has written anything full length herself or a pamphlet or anything. That's what I love about anthologies and magazines. I know I've said this before, but I think it is worth repeating. That's why I love them, because then you can discover work by people you may not have discovered before, and then you can go and read the rest of their stuff. Okay, let's look her up. Jane Hartshorn. Okay, this is a very small world. Okay, so Jane Hartshorn is the editor for Ache magazine, who I have mentioned before because I bought their new edition recently. I'll insert a picture of it here. And they've also recently published Cusp, which is an anthology about disability and bodies and feminism. And she has written a pamphlet with Litmus Press, which is called Tract. So let me go ahead and buy that. It says Tract is an honest and shocking collection of narrative poems documenting the medical encounters that accompany diagnosis and prognosis alongside the lived experience of chronic illness. This fiercely brave collection of prose poems presents past and future horrors through a series of memories that slip in and out of a dream realm. All right, yes, please. How do I purchase? Here we go. Oh no, it's sold out. I Sorry, anticlimactic, wasn't it? They've sold out. Okay. What else has she written? She's written something called In the Sick Hour by Press Takeaway, but that's only available as a PDF to buy, and I can't read lots of text on a screen, so I can't read that. Let me tweet her and ask her if her pamphlet is available anywhere else, because it may be that the publisher has sold out, but it's available elsewhere. Poetry pamphlets tend not to be available from bookshops, but they're available from Impress or from authors directly. Okay, all right, I've asked her and we will see what she says. Let's begin baking, and then I'm gonna come back to you and talk about books throughout the day in between the baking. Montage chat. You know the drill. Let's go. Weirdly, I always think that that pie tastes nicer the second day. I prefer to eat it cold after it's been in the fridge overnight with whipped cream, whereas Mr. M prefers to eat it hot with custard. What would be your preference? Let me know. Some post has arrived. Let me show you. I have been sent one of my most anticipated releases of the year. This is a proof copy from Granta. So this is The Child by Kjersti A. Skomsvold, whose work I've loved so much. I loved The Faster I Walk, The Smaller I Am. Monster Human, which is over there and is about this big, is on my TBR for Disability Readathon this month. Whether I'll get to it is another question, but we'll see. It's a shame that this one wasn't on my TBR because it's much, much shorter. This one is coming out in the summer, I think. No, it's coming out soon. It's 6th of May, so very, very soon. So it says, a young writer speaks to her second-born child. Since the drama of childbirth, all feels calm. The world is new and full of surprises, even though dangers lurk behind every corner. A car out of control, a disease ever present in the air, the unforgiving speed of time. She tells of the times before the child was born, when the world felt unsure and enveloped in darkness, of long nights with an older lover, of her writing career and the precariousness of beginning a relationship, and then a family with her husband, Beau. A portrait of modern motherhood, The Child is a love story about what it means to be alive and stay alive, no matter how hard the journey. It's got endorsements here from Liz Berry and Sarah Moss, which is just the best when it comes to motherhood. which reminds me actually, I should buy a copy of The Republic of Motherhood for Lauren, whose baby arrived last week and is so cute. Keep getting distracted by the cute photos that she is sending over. So adorable. The Republic of Motherhood is such a wonderful collection and something that I would always recommend giving to new mothers, because I think it's realistic without being depressing, if that doesn't sound like an amazing endorsement. Anyway, it's amazing, I think, and I have actually made an entire video where I dissect the main poem from that collection, which is called The Republic of Motherhood. So I'll link that video in the description box down below in case you would like to go check it out. So anyway, Kjersti Skomsvold's new book, very exciting. Then a pre-order of mine came through that I'd ordered from Storytellers Inc. This is Kayo Chingonyi's new book. This is A Blood Condition. This is a poetry collection. I loved his debut, which was called Kumakanda, which came out in, I think, 2016, 2017. I think this is going to follow a similar trajectory, so talking about trauma and memory and nostalgia and how many different pasts and locations of self can collapse within one body. It says, with astonishing lyricism and musicality, this is a story of multiple inheritances, of grief and survival, renewal and the painful process of letting go, and a hymn to the people and places that run in our blood. That just sounds really, really great. Also, this very exciting pile of books arrived in the post today. This is a pile of the paperback edition of Franklin and Luna and the Book of Fairy Tales, which is the third and probably final, though never say never. I just realised you're quite wonky. You're on the bed, that's why it's not a very smooth surface. The third and probably final, though never say never, book in the Franklin and Luna series. This is my picture book series that is illustrated by Katie Harnett, published by Thames and Hudson. I had so much fun writing these books and going into schools and talking about Franklin and teaching kids poetry. These are always going to have such a special place in my heart. So the paperback is coming out in the summer. It was going to come out, I think, last autumn, but COVID. But the hardback is out now and all three of them are available. The first one is called Franklin's Flying Bookshop. The second is called Franklin and Luna Go to the Moon. And this is the third one, Franklin and Luna and the Book of Fairy Tales. So the first one is about a book-loving dragon called Franklin who wants to share his love of stories with everyone that he meets. But the local villagers are really scared of him until one day he meets a young girl called Luna who isn't scared of dragons because she's read all about them in books. And together they build a bookshop on Franklin's back and take that bookshop to the local villagers to spread their love of books. The second one, spoiler, they go to the moon. It's in the title. It's so hilarious when I go into schools or do events in bookshops. And Franklin is looking for his family in the book, and I say, where do you think dragons live? And we make a chart of all the possible places, and they know that this book is called Franklin and Luna Go to the Moon, but the children never guess that maybe his family live on the moon. They guess under the sea, they guess in mountains and in forests, even in volcanoes, which is really cool. I like that guess. But even though it's the title of the book, they never guess that maybe dragons live on the moon. So spoiler, dragons live on the moon in those stories anyway. If you would like to listen to the first one, Howard from Take That did a story time of Franklin's Flying Bookshop over on Instagram. I'll link that in the description box down below. There's also a reading of me doing the second book on the Thames and Hudson Instagram channel. Shall I read you one spread from here before we move on? It's hard not to do spoilers, so let's do the first three spreads. Can you see? Franklin and Luna love stories. Stories full of ghosts and knights. They read to each other when they're rowing on the pond, imagining adventures with swords and magic wands. Today is Franklin's birthday. He's turning 606. He's worried his friends have all forgotten. They haven't sent him any gifts. But wait, Luna's distracting Franklin from all the people rushing by. Shh. Everyone in the village is planning a surprise. Luna takes Franklin to a bookshop out of town. It's owned by a lady in a velvet dressing gown. There are spiders wearing spectacles who organise the shelves, and there are books on every topic, from art to magic spells. It's the perfect place to spend an afternoon. The shop is full to the brim. Franklin can't believe his eyes. some books are just as old as him. This bookshop here is very much like the bookshop that I used to work in. One of them anyway, the antiquarian bookshop. We didn't have spiders to help me organise the books though, which was a major disappointment. I always find word choices in books really funny. I just got an email from my editor talking about the US edition of my new book. And often there are words in a book that even when it goes across the pond to America, they say, what's this word? We don't understand it. And often it's words that I realise wouldn't translate, so you know, pavement and sidewalk, that stuff is fine. But occasionally it's words that I wouldn't have thought didn't translate. So there's a line in my new book which says, most people would have scarpered. Scarpered is apparently not a word that is used in America. They ask if they could use scampered instead. And scampered just sounds really, it has a different connotation in my head. So I've just said, can we say fled or bolted? But yeah, I did not know that scampered was not a word that was used in US English. So there we go. Something new that we learn every day. Should we check Twitter to see if Jane has replied, letting me know if I can get her poetry pamphlet anywhere else? Let's see. Oh, she has. Oh, she said, hi Jen, I love your collection, The Girl Aquarium, and referenced one of your poems in a recent paper. That's nice. She says, tractors available here. So she sent me another link to, oh, I don't know if you can tell on camera, this eye is twitching all the time and it's driving me slightly bananas. You probably can't see on the camera, but it's very, very distracting. I think because this one is scarred at the moment, this one is like working in overtime and it's not happy about it. It's going on strike, I think. Okay, so she has sent me a different link to Litmus Publishing where the pamphlet is in stock. So that's great. I will order that now. And she also says that she has a piece in that Boudica Press anthology, which is also on my TBR for Disability Readathon. Let me find it. This, which is called Disturbing the Body, collection of fiction, non-fiction, or maybe it's just all non-fiction. I think it's auto-fiction, so a blend. And there's some amazing titles in here. I hadn't read the titles of the pieces in here before. Her entire body of work, Underland, Yoke, At the Forever House, The Sisterhood of Broken Dolls, Hello. Jane's piece is called The Animal at My Chest. Great, so I'm even more excited about this one right now and I will bump it up my TBR. I'll link Jane's pamphlet in the description box down below, as well as Disturbing the Body and Sick if you are interested in checking those out. I'm gonna go and make some lasagna now, and then I'm gonna come back to you and we're gonna talk about buying books and some upcoming releases that I'm excited about. Light is intense in the bedroom at this time of day. We're having to hide on the floor down here. Before I disappear, I wanted to tell you about a few books that have been on my radar, and I said that I wanted to buy a couple of books. So I logged on to my Waterstones account the other day. I buy books from lots of different places, from Independence, from Waterstones, and I noticed that I had £30 on my Waterstones points card, which I mustn't have checked in years, and I was very excited to see that it was £30 on, and then I thought, wait, doesn't that mean that I've spent £300 there in the last however many years? And let's not think about that. But yeah, £30. So I thought I would buy myself a couple of books, and I'm going to tell you about the books that I'm buying as I purchase them, because who doesn't like a live book haul? And given that I can't take you to a bookshop right now, let me take you to my laptop. So both of the books that I'm going to order today are pre-orders, but they're coming out in the next week or so. So the first one that I'm going to buy is Bloom by Sarah Wescott. Let me put the cover here. I adored her collection, Slant Light. One of my most anticipated releases this year. So this is a second poetry collection. It says that it approaches the cultural and physical spaces where human and non-human lives coexist. And then the other book that I want to pre-order. Can you hear an angry dog on the street? Okay, so the other one that I want to pre-order is by Deidre Sullivan. And we like similar things. We're really interested in dark fairy tale retellings, and I have one of her short story collections on my shelf called Tangleweed and Brine. But that's YA stories, and a lot of her work, excuse me, sorry, what was I saying? All of her previous books have been YA, and YA I don't tend to read as much, and she has a new collection of short stories coming out, but this is her first collection for grown-ups, so I'm really excited about it. It is called, what are you called? I Want to Know That I Will Be Okay. And the blurb says, in this dark, glittering collection of short stories, Deidre Sullivan explores the trauma and power that reside in women's bodies. A teenage girl tries to fit in at a party held in a haunted house, yes please, with unexpected and disastrous consequences. A mother and daughter run a thriving online business selling antique dolls while their customers get more than they bargained for. And after a stillbirth, a young woman discovers that there is something bizarre and wondrous growing inside her. With empathy and invention, Sullivan effortlessly blends genres in stories that are by turns strange and exquisite. So those are the two books that I am going to order. And I wanted to mention that I saw, let's look this up, that the blurb for the new Nicci French book is up. They've had a new book coming out every September for the past couple of years, and that always excites me no end. So the one coming out this year is called The Unheard. It says, Tess's #1 priority has always been her 3-year-old daughter Poppy, but splitting up with Poppy's father Jason means that she cannot always be there to keep her daughter safe. When she finds a disturbing drawing, dark and menacing, amongst her daughter's brightly coloured paintings, Tess is convinced that Poppy has witnessed something terrible, something that her young mind is struggling to put into words, but no one will listen. It's only a child's drawing, isn't it? Always obsessed with the books that they're bringing out. And actually, speaking of crime, psychological thrillers, as I've been cooking, I've been listening to more of the Paula McGuire, Claire McIntosh book, and I'm really enjoying it. I think I'm enjoying this one more than the first book. I will talk about it in my wrap up. And the other book that I found that is coming out later this year that I'm really excited about is called A Face for Picasso by Ariel Henley. And Ariel wrote one of my favourite pieces in disability visibility, which was called something along the lines of, there's a mathematical equation for why I'm ugly. It was the most wonderful essay. So I'm so thrilled that she is writing a memoir, or has written a memoir, and that it's coming out later this year. So that is now definitely on my radar. I'm sure that I will do another most anticipated releases for the second half of the year. In the next few months, I will link my previous most anticipated book releases videos for 2021 in the description box down below. Also, I realized I didn't share the recipes for the pie or for the lasagna. The pie is just 2 lots of pastry, each one 250 grams of plain flour, 125 grams of butter, pinch of salt, an egg, a splash of water, and then you just bring that together and roll it out. So 2 lots of that, one for the bottom, one for the top. I always bake the base before putting in the filling, which was just apple, cinnamon, and some frozen fruit. And the lasagna I have made in a vlog before, so I will link that in the description box down below if you would like to go and find that recipe. I'm going to wrap up today's vlog here. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. Let me know what you're reading in a comment down below, and I will speak to you all very soon. Sending lots of love. Bye.